What's going on, people? What's happening? Happy Sunday. Wait for a few of you guys to get in here. I got my scanner on today. I was just sitting in the shop listening to the scanner for a little bit. What's going on out there? Everybody having a good Sunday? How's everybody doing? What up, Spring Steppin'? Madeline, glad you're here. Yeah, this is the shop. This is where some shit goes down. If you don't know, now you know. What up, Juice Beast? What's going on this beautiful Sunday afternoon? How's everybody doing out there?
Our friends at 5, outside burning, extinguish 5 in service. Outside burning, extinguish engine 5 in service.
We got a fire outdoors. God damn. What about those fires up in Canada, huh? Wow. I mean, I don't know if you're from the North Shore, anybody here in the chat, but man, I tell you, the last week, couple of days, man, it was pretty gloomy outside. That just felt weird. You know, that all that smoke was covering the sun and, you know, reduced some temperatures. Right, Madeline? Those fires out there are not good. I think I did a little, I started looking into it a little bit. I think there was like 285 active fires at one time. Unbelievable. You know, you wonder, years ago, I think, they did a lot of like controlled fires, just for, the environment and regrowth and stuff like that. But there's a lot.
You can modify it to domestic, verbal only. Thank you, 01, Carl Evans. We'll take an insurance report.
We have a verbal domestic going on. But yeah, I mean, you think we got affected by the smoke over here. I mean, from the Boston area. I mean, you're talking about 200 plus miles away. I mean, it really, it could really cause a big effect in the community. I mean, we had, poor air quality. I mean, and my theory is whatever goes up must come down. So, I mean, I'm sure there's particles in the air that, parts per billion. We ain't seeing them. It's just crazy.
Control the car 1-5.
We got 13 people. 13 is a lucky number for me.
Hang up 10 Surfside Road, number 6. No answer on the callback.
Yeah, we got today's Sunday scanner day over here with KevyKev. I'm just listening to the scanner, chilling out. Happy Sunday, Denise. Glad you're here. Thanks for showing up. I've been a little MIA. I've been super busy with work. Kids that are in sports, man. It's just been crazy. Just trying to adjust to the new season coming up. Right around the 4th of July, I had a bunch of stuff going on. I went to dig out my old car. I got an old Buick.
If I whip it out, I'll do a question. Roger.
I got an old Buick, and I pulled it out of the backyard to, take it for a cruise. Put some gas in it, and I had some problems with it last week. Week before that, I had a issue with it trying to start. I had to get a new battery, replace that. Got the car running. The fuel line went. Had to replace the fuel line. Once I replaced the fuel line, I backed it out of the yard and took it for a little ride. I was going to head to the gas station, and my front right caliper seized up. Brake caliper. So it was back to the drawing board, jack it up, take the front tire off, rip the caliper off, bench the caliper, and get that all freed up. So car's back, back in action. Before I put it away last year, I was doing a little body work here and there on it. So I've been sizing that up where I should pick back up with that. So it's a lot of fun.
5 quarters. Engine 5 3/4.
I like the old car scene. It's a lot of fun. I like hitting car shows and just taking cruises with the kids and the family, and enjoy it. So, and my radio, I like my music. Years ago with the cars, I would do the nice speaker system with the amplifiers, and so I after driving the car for about a week, cruising around, I feel like my amplifier that I have, with my system was kind of acting up, and I think I lost some power in there. I don't know why. It could have been bouncing around. It couldn't have, I've put stuff in the trunk. I use the car. I'm not really, I don't really baby it. I use it. It's like the family truck stuff, So I ended up picking up some new parts. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a live with that. I'm going to put in the mount an amplifier in the car with my speakers and stuff. I just picked up some parts for it. Shit. See if I can. Little box here. Can't open it that way, but I can open it this way. Picked up a nice little wiring kit. Do-it-yourself wiring kit. Picked up a nice amplifier, new amplifier for it. So that's going to be a fun install. Nice, clear music, Especially when you have a loud car with loud exhaust and stuff, sometimes, if you're just running the stock stuff, it's it gets overpowered by the exhaust and how loud your car is and whatnot. What up, E-Pags? God damn, you got everybody up in here. It's time to get some people in here. The Kind Oracle, what's happening? We got some people coming into the chat. Got E-Pags. We got Choose Peace. Madeline's here. Denise Knoll. Choose Peace. Spring Steppin'. We out here. We got 10 people up in here. We're just listening to the scanner and, wanted to jump on here. Wanted to tell everybody that, I'm back in action with my memberships. I'm pretty sure, my super chats, my super thanks, my stickers, all that's back up and running. Had a little hiccup with that. With something happened. It was crazy. I started, I think I got monetized like right at the end of March. And what I was doing was I was verifying my identification. And I didn't realize it, but YouTube made me realize it, that I was supposed to, I was up on my time to renew my license, like because of my birthday, every 5 years or whatnot. So I wasn't aware of it. It kind of kicked me off, and I had to update my license. But we're back in action. We're back in action, people. So yeah, if you want to become part of the Kevy crew, become a member. Become a member. And don't forget, we got KevyKev on the Cash App. That's weird. The boy is back. That's right. God damn. The boy's back. My little setup over here. Got my tools and shit right here. Got my little spot over there where I chill out, if I go on to do a serious, sit down JFK interview. I got my little spot right there. We love all you people. We got a couple of new members already. People are already going green on me. We got Madeline. Madeline gone green. Goddamn, E-Pags, you gone green. Shit. E-Pags is all green with red shoes. God damn. What up, April? We got a green. We got a new member. We got another new member. God damn. People are going green on me. That's what's up, people. I'm telling you right now, man. I had that little hiccup, but KevyKev's coming back out. I got a whole summer ahead of us. It's just getting started. There's always a project going on. There's always something to do. I love talking this true crime with JFK. Then we've also been talking about this this Peterson case, man. And should he get a good new trial? I mean, there's a lot of mixed feelings on that out there, and I hear you. I can understand. Serious case. He's been charged. He's doing time. He's locked up for it. But the question is was something missed? Was something not talked about? Was there something not disclosed?
11 responding to 19 Husk Court.
God damn, we got the scanner.
Medic 11, you're responding from the out front, 19 Husk Court. Control, call 7.
God damn.
Can you be clear? Roger, what are you doing? Roger, can you take 12 Bell Ave for the notify? Have you call Middleton Police in regards to an FBA that occurred earlier today?
And Priscilla, I could see that. You know, but I mean, recycled evidence. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. But you know, was it? You know, from my understanding, if he pushes forward with this burglary, you know, I believe there was 4 people that were involved with that B&E in the Medina house. You know, and only 2 people got questioned and did time for that. There was 2 other people that were involved, 4 altogether. You know, 2 of the people that were arrested for that crime, for the robbery next door from you know, Lacey's house, where she might have confronted these people. I believe that the 2 people that got arrested and did some time, there's only one still alive out of them 2.
Judge. Can you put it in that number to the call, please, when I get a check? Shut it. Sierra 910013338. Stand by.
See what we got going on out here. We got some more comments here. Got to keep up with it. Shit's running a little slow.
Control 14. 14, Brett. Is that for Joanna Vargas, 1021 88? That's affirmative. Roger.
Well, hey, enjoy your Sunday, April.
Thank you.
Thanks for popping in and saying what's up. Glad you guys are here. You know, there's more to come. I wanted to pop in here too, say what's up, say hi to the Kevy crew. You know.
Chad, can you put us on stationary support?
They need to test that DNA choose piece. Yeah. Yeah. And that's something. They need to test that DNA in that van. And I agree. You know, that might be one of the things that could happen. I mean, you got his lawyer that had handled this, Mark there. You know, he's saying that he'll put up the money. Put up the money to get that DNA tested or any kind of evidence in that van tested, which, you know, I mean, that's big.
So, car 11. Go ahead.
So.
You're at Strawberry Ave. Multiple vehicles parked on the corner and on Strawberry Ave, causing issues.
Oh, we got a traffic jam. Strawberry Ave. That's a tight street. Strawberry Ave's a tight street. I mean, it's Sunday. People are having cookouts. It's rained for a couple of days. Cities get the temperature in the cities, man. They start to go up, man. Once you're allowed to go, I mean, able to go outdoors and it ain't raining. God damn. It was beautiful. One of my neighbors, they got married over the weekend. Had a nice time in the backyard. Nice neighbors, you know. And yeah, the street was packed, but hey, you know, it's what it's all about. The celebration. It's a celebration. You know. God damn the strawberries. Yeah, Strawberry Ave. And what runs under Strawberry Ave and Lynn is Strawberry Brook. There's actually a brook that runs underground, pops up here and there, a couple little springs, disappears back underground, goes out to one of the little lakes we got over here off 129. So yeah, that's how they named. I believe that's how they named Strawberry Ave is because Strawberry Brook runs pretty much the whole length of Strawberry Ave. God damn. Some fact finders and shit. Yeah, choose peace. You know, and that's one of the parallels that we were talking about. You know, I mean, you know, with the Eddie case, they should retest that DNA that was under the fingernails. I mean, you're talking about years, 30 plus years that, you know, somebody's been incarcerated and you know, there could be some changing evidence, you know, in the whole case. And with the technology we have today can really, you know, finalize, you know, the outcome in a much preciser way, whether it's yay or nay. You know, I mean, you got to give it a shot, and I think that's, you know, what up, Colin? Glad you're here, man. Shit, what's popping? Colin's here. Priscilla, and the two burglars were caught, and they passed a lie detector test. Yeah. So I did a little, you know, I did a little research on these burglars. A little old school. I got a little notebook, man. I write stuff down in and shit, you know. Things to refresh my memory on what I've been reading and what I've been looking through. And you're right, these two burglars that were caught. Let me go to my page that I got dedicated for these two burglars. You know,
Until the 1-5.
those two burglars, the two robbers, the people that robbed that house, with Donald Glenn Pierce and Stephen Wayne Todd. Now, a little backstory on Donald, man. You know, Donald after high school, he moved with his parents to the Modesto, California, and you know, when he moved out to Modesto, he moved on a street named Tiona Drive. Tenoya Drive. And I mean, I'm thinking fresh out of high school, he's probably, Donald's probably about 18, 19. He moves out there with his parents. He's in Modesto. I did a little research on him. He ended up getting a job at Campbell Soup. He held a good job with them, Donald, for a few years. He ended up taking off to Las Vegas a few years after being in Modesto and working for the Campbell Soup Company. When he went to Las Vegas, he ended up becoming a repairman for slot machines and doing a lot of maintenance on those things. And, when you're in Las Vegas, a lot of casinos out there. He kind of got tired of that, and he came back to Modesto. He went right back to where his parents were, right on, Tenonia Drive. And, he liked cars. He was into cars. He was a mechanic. He bounced around with a few mechanical jobs. But he was, he often was on the other side. He was against the law. You know what I'm saying? He was on that other side. He liked to, test the waters with the law. And, years later, I mean, we're talking years later, he ends up, hooking up with Steve. And they end up robbing the house in 2002. December 2002. How they end up getting caught, too, is there was an informant that spoke on, there was property of the Medina's house in one of these guys' house, in Steve's house. So, this informant leads the police to Steve's house. And then when they go in Steve's house, and where does Steve live? But Steve lives on Tenonia Drive. He lived at 1406 Tenonia Drive. So who else lives on Tenonia Drive is Donald. So I'm thinking in my head, like, these guys, I mean, if Donald moved out to Tenonia Drive and right after high school, he's 18, 19. I mean, these two, Donald and Steve, they could have been real good friends from an early age, I mean, when you get a friendship like that and you're doing crime, you know how to keep a secret. You definitely know how to keep a secret, between the both of them. I mean, if they were that well, So, and when you think of this robbery, I mean, it was Susan and Rudy Medina that got robbed, and they lived next door from Lacey. Now, they stepped out of town for a couple of days. They left the morning of December 24th. And they only went, they took off for a couple of days. They went to some family's house. They wanted to have Christmas dinner, and they come back on the 26th. Now you say to yourself, I mean, a robbery of a house or whatnot, like, someone breaks into a house and they steal a TV or a VCR or, you know, I mean, how much could they really get away with, breaking into this house and it would that weigh out on a kidnapping or someone spoiling their score, let's say. But what they found in Stephen's house, adds up. I mean, they recovered power tools, they recovered handguns, they recovered a safe with $3,000. They recovered all kinds of jewelry valued at about over $50,000 worth of jewelry. They took a Gucci watch and some more shit. So, I mean, when you add those numbers up, you're talking about, if you got over $50,000 worth of jewelry and a bunch of power tools, and a Gucci watch, and back then at them times, if you was, making this score and you think you're getting away with, $60,000-$70,000 worth of stuff, I mean, is that worth somebody's life? That's a question you got to ask. Was $60,000 or $70,000 worth somebody's life? It's pretty sad. But we're not talking about a VCR. Glenda Sparrow, yeah, I agree. And that's some things that I thought about. I mean, what if they were, you know, I mean, they just robbed somebody's house. They took over $60,000 to $70,000 worth of items. They're thinking, and normally when somebody like that does a crime, you gotta turn all the goods into money. So they need time. I mean, and my question is, did these people say, shit, let's try to pin it on the husband? Let's follow him. Let's watch what he does, where he goes. And what if Scott's story was true, that he purchased this boat for his father-in-law and he wanted to test it out before he gave it to him? I mean, we don't know. I mean, I think that's part of the story. I mean, that's part of the new evidence is that, I mean, that Lacey knew about the boat. It's a crazy spin. It's a crazy spin to it, and it's evidence that wasn't brought forth. This investigation on these two guys. I mean, yeah, they were charged. They were charged. I think, if I'm correct, when they were charged with this crime, Donald and Stephen, Donald got 180 days for the crime. He had to serve that time, 180 days. Stephen, on the other hand, Stephen was out on bail at the time. and he was out on bail waiting a sentencing of, I believe it was 7 years and a third of a year. And they were for crimes that had no relation to this robbery. But it seems like Steven got a little bit of a break. Because at the time that he gets arrested for the robbery, that makes him fall under the 3-strike rule in California. And when you fall under the 3rd strike rule in California for crimes like that, robbery, it's a minimum of 25 years in prison. And it seems that Steven, after getting charged for this robbery, they only added a year and 4 months to the sentencing that he was out on bail for. So in all reality, he ended up doing 8 years and 8 months and not falling under that 3rd strike rule, which would have made him serve 25 years in jail. So somebody got a break in there somewhere. Makes you wonder, like, what the hell's going on with that? But you're right. I mean, I do. I believe, why would they put her in the bay where her husband was fishing? How would they know that spot? Unless they followed him. Unless these robbers were, smart enough to know, pin it on the husband. I mean, who's always the first suspect? Who's getting questioned the most? It's the closest one to you. And don't get me wrong, I mean, he did some crazy shit that, Scott. He wasn't living an honest life, I'll tell you that. He wasn't honest to her. I believe they met in college, Lacey and Scott. And they were together for a few years and then, planned on having a baby and raising this baby in a nice community. And he had other things going on behind the scene. So, I mean, those are all questionable things, But yeah, that case, man, I'll tell you, that case is crazy. I mean, there's a lot of answers that people might want to still get, But I mean, you ain't gonna get them from Donald Pierce. He passed away on October 18th, 2019. So one of those people that was charged and did the 180 days. And they said, both of these guys, when they got out of jail, they lived a pretty quiet life. Donald lived a pretty quiet life up until his passing. Never really got in any trouble after that. And they're saying that Steve did his time and he lived a pretty quiet life too. Steve, I believe, still out there somewhere. But there was 2 other people that were involved in that. They're saying that there was 4 people that were involved with that robbery, and only 2 people got questioned. And why didn't the investigation go any further than that? And those are the questions that gets raised. So, but yeah, I mean, these kind of cases, you know, they bring stuff to the table to make it, second guess or take a better look at things. Not meaning that it's going to change the outcome, but you know, why wasn't it looked at? See you later, Denise. That's right, people. Let's get that energy up. Let's get that energy up. Some Sunday energy with KevyKev and the Kevy crew. Let's go, people. Let's go. We're sitting here listening to the scanner. I definitely wanted to pop up on here. Say what's up to all the beautiful people. You guys have fun last night? Did any of you guys check us out on the JFK show off? We were rocking out. We were rocking out to the early mornings. Shit. You know, it's crazy. And I'm right there with you, too. Madeline, the depths of corruption. And that's a great way to put it. The depths of corruption. I mean, how deep does this go? How deep does this go? It's almost like, you think like, all over the place there's some crazy stuff going on. And what do we got going on here?
14. You guys take the trespassers, 19 Willow Street, floor in the rear. 1 male, 1 female, shooting up in the rear stairwell of the building.
Trespassers. We've got some trespassers on a Willow Street. Sounds like they're doing the wrong thing in the back hallway. Told you the city gets, once you get that first, it's like, these cities are nocturnal and shit. Once you get a little sunlight, man, it's people are all out and about, JFK got a Facebook page too, people. I don't know if you guys went over there and checked that out. 10 o'clock this morning, there was a video posted, a little collaboration with me and him. We were going over a few things, some Q&A, questions and answers. And if you guys haven't gone over there and checked that out, take a chance to get over there. Smash that like button on Facebook. Give it a like, give it a share, check it out. check it out. I mean, it's a great video. Break some stuff down, some key topics, some good points. Um, you know, we got 16 people over here with us right now, rocking out. You know, I didn't throw up a header. I just hit the button. Um, I just hit the button. I said, let's go. Let's go. I'm jumping on, you know. Sunday's the day that, I do a little yard cleaning, pick up some stuff, listen to the scanner, come out here, check some stuff out. I got to put a couple of wrenches away. I got a wrench up here that's missing, I see. God damn. Got a little, what's that? Probably the 10 mil. 10 mil is always in my back pocket for some reason.
20 Marion Street, Redbird alarm. Key holders, phone numbers in the notes. Roger.
Yeah. What else did I pick up? I picked this thing up the other day. My car was running a little hot, so I picked up one of these. It's a thermometer. Yeah, it's like when you were a kid. I could probably check my kid's temperature with this too. A nice little unit, nice little handheld unit. Infrared. You just you point it at whatever you want with the automotive stuff, and it tells you if it's hot enough, what the temperature is. The other day, it felt like the car was running hot. He started up.
14 out.
I can point this at my radiator, and it'll tell me how hot the radiator is. I can point this at my radiator hose. It'll tell me how hot the radiator hose is. Vice versa. Not today, Satan. KevyKev, can you explain the bilge pump? Yeah. The bilge pump is hooked up. You can have a couple of bilge pumps. So usually the bilge pump is in the aft. And me saying aft is the back of the boat. So usually, down low point, most boats have, if it's an inboard motor, you got an engine compartment, or if it's an outboard, you're going to have a small well below the motor. And usually there's a pump. It's an evacuation pump that's hooked up to 12 volts. And it has a float on it, almost like a pump in your basement. So let's think of it as, if you're a homeowner and you got a pump in your basement, and you got a little square cut out in the corner of the basement, and you got that pump that's in there, submergible pump. It's got a float on it. If any water comes in your basement, fills up that little square that you have this pump set in, the float is going to raise up, gets to a certain level, it kicks on, and it pumps the water out of the basement. Same aspect with the boat. The bilge pump, it's made to react when a boat takes on water, to vacate the water, to get it out of the hull of the boat or the back aft or the engine compartment. As soon as you take on water, that bilge pump comes on, and it runs, and it tries to maintain and get rid of the water that's in the boat. They got pickup screens. They got a float on the side of it. And it's kind of a set it and forget it kind of thing. It comes on automatically, but most bilge pumps have an override system where you have a bilge switch on your gauge cluster or your dash panel of the boat, and you can operate it manually up there. If you have an issue, you're taking on water, you see your boats leaning to one side. There's a lot of things you got to prepare for when you're out in the water, and having a bilge pump is number one. And you got to make sure that it's maintained. And what I mean by maintained is that you want to make sure that there's nothing obstructing the intake, the screen part of it. You got to keep up on that little bit of maintenance. You want to check it. You want to lift the float up and make sure that it comes on automatically. Some people dock their boats on a dock, or they might have a mooring. A mooring means that the boat's isolated out in the water, floating. If you're tied up to a dock at a marina, you're going to be, your boat's going to be in the water, floating, but tied off at the marina. Now, if you're not down at your boat and you're on, it's Monday through Friday and you got things going on and your boat for some reason is taking on a little water, this bilge pump is made to, remotely come on by itself and vacate the water to maintain any water coming into your boat. So I don't know if, I think the best way that I could have explained it to some of the viewers is that it's similar to a regular bilge pump or submersible pump in your basement. It's made to operate under an emergency, on its own, to really save. When you think of the dynamics of a basement pump in your house, you don't want the floor getting damp and wet. You don't want, if you got a finished basement and you got rugs down there, or framed off walls with sheetrock, you don't want water getting in your basement. And same aspect with the boat. You don't want water getting in your boat, because you could take on too much water, and that buoyancy of the boat floating is compromised. We all know, you pick up a gallon of water, it's got a little weight to it, like a sump pump. That's right, Colin. A smart device, yeah. Right on, Becky. Like Becky said right here. Go check out JFK's presentation on YouTube. The link's right up here. And back to that bilge pump situation, I think, I think the crew that was with Nolan down there in Mississippi, they were taking on water on that boat. They made a distress call. And we hear it. There's a recording of it. We hear it. And from what I believe and get from that distress call is that they got towed out, maybe couple hundred yards offshore, and they were able to revert to, maintaining, general operation of that boat, and they were able to go back to their, starting destination, So in my eyes, somebody either repaired that pump, got the bilge pump working. Were the operators of that boat, were they aware that the bilge pump wasn't working? I mean, if I was operating a boat and I'm driving this boat, or and I look over and say, hey, geez, shit, we're taking on water. My first thing would be to check that bilge pump. And if it wasn't coming on by the float, I'd be going for that, that switch to override that float and turn it on and just throw that 12 volts right to it, activate that pump. That pipe pump might have come on, but there might have been an obstruction underneath. Sometimes we don't think about things where, we might be working on the motor, or we might have put a battery in the boat, and, you got a rag in your hand and you wipe something down, or you don't want to get any battery acid, and you put the rag down and you tighten up the battery, but you forget the rag. Now a little water gets in the boat, the rag's floating, it's getting drawn over to the bilge pump because there's water in there and it's vacating, and there's a draw, and that rag gets stuck on the bilge, and now it ain't pumping no more. I mean, what was the outcome with that? Did somebody repair the bilge? There's got to be a story. There's got to be, an explanation on how they were taking on water and then they stopped taking on water. There's got to be a scenario on what they did, what their corrective action was. It wasn't calling a mayday in and getting dragged out to deeper water to stop it from taking on water. Somebody must have had to have made some corrective action. So, I mean, those are things that I want to know about. So, there's still a lot of questions, a lot of answers that should be answered. I mean, for us to get a better idea of the situation with that distress call to the maritime, because a distress call like that out on the open water could react to different kinds of, you might get a different reaction from a different person. I'll say it again. I initially said it, with JFK on the JFK show off episode the other night. You can't say pull over, man, let me out. Man, you're driving down the street and your buddy's like, yo, man, my front brakes starting to drag. It's seizing up. And he's like, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try to make it home. Then all of a sudden, your front right tire catches on fire. Fucking kid in the back's like, yo, pull over. Let me out. I don't want this car catching on fire while I'm in it. When you're out in a boat, man, you can't say that. You can't say, hey, pull over, man, I want to get off. So a distress call like that to the maritime, authorities, man, to say, to give a mayday, to report, hey, my vessel's taking on water. You're going to get, number one, you're going to get, this maritime reaction, this response. These people are going to sound the horns. They're going to head out. And then to come to find out that they had towed them out a little ways and then they were able to carry on, leads me to believe that there was some kind of corrective action with why they were taking on water. And not for nothing, but back to this bilge pump situation. You should always have something on standby. They have foot pumps. They have vacate pumps that you can operate by foot, take turns, And not for nothing, I'm going to tell you this. I did a little research on the boating laws in Mississippi. And any boat over 16 feet long has to have a safety inflatable raft aboard that vessel, just in case you're in a situation where you're taking on water, you hit an obstruction, you need to vacate the boat. Of all personnel, of all people, need to be off that boat. There's supposed to be, I think it's at the minimum of a 6-man inflatable raft, safety inflatable raft, on board any boat over 16 feet long in Mississippi. And then there's another thing. I mean, when you're on a vessel and you're in distress, I mean, that all of a sudden there's a whole nother mental state that you're going to fall under. Number one, if you're operating that boat, you're responsible for all the people on the boat. Your job is to make sure that they stay focused. If you panic as an operator, they're going to panic. If it gets hostile in that situation and people are starting to yell at everybody and what are we going to do? Call the maritime. Oh, shit, we're underwater. No, it should be that operator of that boat should be aware of what's going on with the boat, be able to take corrective action, get everybody in a situation where, hey, listen, I'm going to make a call. I got a foot pump. I want people to take turns, just stop pumping out some water. Let me take a look. Hey, someone take the wheel, focus in on something. Hey, keep the boat focusing it on that piece of land that's, half a mile away. And as an operator, I'd start to say, hey, let me look at this pump. Why ain't it working? How come my override ain't working? And maintain some kind of stability amongst everybody. I mean, it could go one way or the other. You could be panicking and not be able to take control of the situation, and it might force people to say, I want to get off the boat. I'm jumping off. I'm going to try to swim back to shore. The people start looking at, we got to make it all the way over there, but we just left right there. And let me say that again. Oh man, we got to get to way over there, but we just left right there. If that right there ain't 20 feet and it's 75 feet, 100 feet, 100 yards, 50 yards, you're in trouble. And that's right. Jimmy Speaks is here. What up, girl? I see you. God damn. To panic under any circumstance isn't good. It isn't. You gotta maintain, for everybody on that boat. I mean, and that's talking about a responsible a responsible operator. Now, when I was doing a little deep dive with the Mississippi maritime laws out there, I believe it was after 2005. If you were born by a certain date and you want to operate a boat, you have to take a flotilla course. You have to take a primary boating course to understand these fundamentals about, simple charting, survival, safety, maintaining a vessel, making sure that it's up to par and there's no issues before you let any passengers on. I mean, there's a lot to do with it. You got to be smart all the way around. Glad everybody's out here. Yeah, like I said, we got Jimmy Speaks out here. We got Madeline. Madeline's still rocking with us. Colin Driscoll, what up, man? Yeah, working on a boat for days at a time. I was acutely aware of that. I hear you. Not today, Satan. What up? Exactly, and there's a good point. There's a good now. That's that estimation I'm saying to myself. Yes, you are stuck. The island is 7 miles from the dock. Now, and you should be aware of that before you leave. Now, I had a boat. I had a 27-foot boat, two twin motors on it. It was like driving a school bus with no brakes. And that's the only thing I could tell you about that. You're in the water, you're floating around, I'm in a school bus with no brakes. You need to know how to operate that. I mean, I used to take friends out on fishing trips. I used to just, go out and have a good time and enjoy it. But I'll tell you, I was always responsible for the people I had on my boat. you know. My father was a boater. Shit, I named my boat after my father's boat. It was called the Bristol Fashion. And I will say this to you. My father used to tell me, I'd touch base with him and say, hey, going out on the boat today. As soon as we talked boat, he'd say, well, what time are you leaving? Who are you taking with you? Knowing that we already had an agreement, me and him, my father, that one guy that I would check in with before I would head out offshore, which is very important that you at least let somebody know when you're going to depart, when you're going to head out, what time it is. Now, there's a good thing that, good practice is a log. And that's something that we did. And it was a log that, I would take 2 minutes to jot down on this log, hey, it's, July 2nd, the date, the time, leaving the dock, who we had on the boat. A small log. If something was to happen on that journey and there was nobody to speak on a scenario or an accident or a last distress call, there's a log on that boat that will help an investigation. Somebody would find that. I'm not saying everybody's going to do that. But something that might take you 2 minutes to jot down in a leather-binded book, might help somebody retrieving what's left. And that's right. Most people won't. Most people won't take the time to do that. It's just safe practice. And yeah, don't get me wrong. You got a group of young kids that they want to make it to the island. They want to they want to get their party on. The other thing out in Mississippi is that if a harbor master or anybody was to get pulled over on the water, you cannot, as the operator of that boat, you could not refuse the breathalyzer or any kind of sobriety test. So, in 0.08, that's the limit out there. I was reading that law too. I think there's 4 strikes you can get, for operating DUI on the boat. Right? The first couple are just fines, I think the fourth or the fifth, deem you as an habitual offender, and it's a fine up to $5,000 and jail time. But the key thing with that is that you cannot refuse any of those tests if they're brought to you like that. You can't refuse it. You have to do it. God damn, we've been rocking out for an hour and 17 minutes. I've been talking my ass off over here. God damn. I hope you guys are all tuned in with me. What else? Anybody else got any what about some questions? Questions for KevyKev? Anybody got some questions for KevyKev? Go ahead. Let's watch the chat. You want to know something? Let's ask me a question. It doesn't have to be related to the a case or something like that, but do some Q&As and shit. KevyKev, man. Got some people rocking out. I got super chats. You guys want to send me a super chat? Say what up, what up? A super thanks, a sticker. God damn. I'm pretty sure. Did I ever have an emergency on my boat? Great question. And yes, Becky. Yes, I had an emergency on my boat. Not a scary one. So I had this boat. It had twin motors on it, 2 motors underneath. And the water pump belt had snapped on one of the motors. Now the motors are side by side. Okay? And when the belt snapped, it smacked the other motor. And it destroyed one of the spark plug wires on the motor. And at first, I didn't realize the belt had broke. So as I was driving, I'm looking at my gauges on my gauge cluster, and I seen that one of the temperatures on the left motor, it was rising. So I'm like, Jesus, I'm saying to myself, what the fuck's going on here? So I get somebody, I say, hey man, see that buoy out there? Head for that buoy. I kick the throttles down. I open up the engine compartment. I see the 2 motors running. I'm looking, I see the belt shredded on one of the motors. And when it did, it hit the other spark plug wire, and it severed it. So I'm getting it. It's starting to arc out on the motor. So what I ended up doing was I shut one motor off, the motor that blew the belt, and I stole that spark plug wire, put it on the other motor, and that's how we ended up getting home. I robbed Peter to fix Paul, if you know what I'm saying. So I didn't have a belt on deck to put on the other motor. So what I did was I just shut it down. Took the spark plug wire. Let me see. 1357. So I took number 2 plug wire and I swapped it onto the other motor. Started the other motor up. It was running smooth. And I kicked back. We trolled back with one motor. Not a serious, no, it was an easy fix. I ended up getting the belt following day, popped it on the other side. The salt water does a number on a lot of things. It's very corrosive. And those are the things that those are the things you got to maintain and keep up with, But on the fly, when you're driving, if something happens, you got to be quick to react, and know that me losing a belt out at sea, as I replaced that belt the following day, I replaced and made sure I had an extra belt on deck, because that could happen again. That could happen to the other motor. It was just more or less a situation where something had dried out and got weak. But yeah, I did, and I will reflect on this. I had an older gentleman on the boat with me, good friend of mine, and it was like one of those Saturdays where I closed up my shop early. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna take a ride out on the boat. Do you want to come?" "Yeah, man, I'm down, man. I'd love to go." We leave around, say 2:30, 3 o'clock, and this gentleman, he took medication at a certain time, and he was a little panicky that, he wasn't going to get back, in time. And, you have to learn to smooth that shit over. "Hey, man, don't worry about it, man." We're as soon as he seen me, leave the helm, leave the steering wheel, and you're driving on a boat, you're out in the water, like people say, you're 7 miles to shore, and the engine compartment is opened up, and you're down there with a wrench and shit. You're saying, people on the boat are saying, "Oh shit, like, what's happening? Why are you fucking with the motor right now, bro? Like, yo, man, why you down there with a wrench, bro? We're 7 miles from home." You got to make sure that you have that shit under control. You got to make sure that you say, "Hey, man, don't worry about it, man. Little minor difficulty, man. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Be up and running in a couple minutes." It's a great question, Becky. God damn, Becky. If I ever had quick thinking, yeah, I was smart. Yeah, but I'm going to just say this to you, right? That kind of reaction on my behalf with that situation that I was in. Number one, I knew that I could shut one motor off and make it home. But if you were in a boat that had, a single motor, and your belt broke and you were overheating, or your belt broke and you weren't charging no more, you weren't replenishing your batteries, and that's a big thing, battery power when you're on a boat. There's a lot of little luxuries. You got a radio playing. This boat that I had had a kitchen, a bathroom, 2 bedrooms, it was like a camper on the water. So it had AC, it had, it had all those extras. So, if you were down in the bottom half of the boat and you were relaxed and sitting at a table playing a game of cards, whatnot, or just, or whatever, you got lights on, you're taking that power. That's like the biggest thing is like, you want to make sure that you're charging. Um, there's certain ways, like, when you're not using the boat, you got your tenders on, you're replenishing your batteries. Um, there's just certain things that you want to make sure you always have, a backup plan, or something to fall back on. What else? Any other questions? God damn. Here we go. That's what's up, Becky G. She gifted one KevyKev781 membership. Hi, Renee. Good to see you out here. Glad everything's working good. I see you giving a little update there. That's great. Good to hear it. Brenda, how's the dirt bike? Great. Great. Little Kevy loves that. It's right outside. We put some new pegs on it. I put some new handlebars on it to kind of like, raise him up a little bit. I felt like he was leaning forward a little bit too much, so we ordered a new set of bars. We put some new bars on it. My daughter, she just got her new helmet, a few weeks back. She was psyched. Got her a pink helmet and shit. My daughter got her new helmet and shit. She likes pink. She loves it. My daughter loves driving it. Yeah, Colin, those helmets are our helmets. I got one. Kevy got one, and my daughter got one too. My daughter, her name's Kaylani. I call her Lonnie. It's my Lonnie. We're all K's. But yeah, we all got matching helmets and shit because like they like going on my motorcycle too, and I'd wear that. I'd wear a full face dirt bike helmet on my bike any day of the week. They all match. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, it's Hawaiian. It's a Hawaiian name. All K's. All of us. My wife, my daughter, my son, myself. We all got the same initials. Yeah, Desi. Little Honda mini bike. I had one too. I had a Honda 50, little trail rider. It was a lot of fun. I started riding when I was 5 years old. Yep. And my kids were on bikes at 5. Both my kids were on the back of my motorcycle at 5 years old. Like, Daddy, let's go. You know, I'd get out of work and pull up. My daughter be sitting on the stairs with her boots on. Like, can you give me a ride? Like, let's go, baby. Get on. Now they're riding their own little dirt bikes. My daughter, we picked up a mini bike a few years ago. She'd been driving that for a few years. It was pretty cool. I found one of those big wheeled mini bikes. At first, it started, I'd start it up, fly out of the driveway. The kids would jump on. I'd take a little blast, They'd be all pumped up. The next thing you know, she's like, oh, can I do it? Can I give it the gas, Daddy? Sure. Yeah, Z50. You're right. Little Honda Z50. Then my uncle Mike, man. God bless my Uncle Mike, man. I love that guy. I missed him, man. He left us early in life. But I remember, man, he come by my father's garage, and he used to call me boy, hey boy. And he's like, I got something for you. I walk over to his truck. He had this big truck, and I couldn't see over the tailgate. I'm trying to look over the tailgate. The truck's sitting at the end of the driveway, and I remember the tailgate being opened up and slammed down, and he had this little 3-wheeler. It was a Tri-Zinger 60. It was made by Yamaha. It was baby blue, yellow sticker kit. It was called a Tri-Zinger, and it needed tires and stuff. And me and my father ordered tires, and I learned how to put tires on a mini, one of those small ATVs. And what a lesson and experience that was. And I had that little Tri-Zinger for years. It was a lot of fun. It was a 60. 3-wheelers were illegal at the time. They were like coming off the market because they were considered, dangerous due to like accidents and stuff like that. But you gotta understand that stuff. You gotta understand the lean and the roll and all that stuff. Which I caught on pretty quick, and I had a lot of fun on that thing. And it was kind of generational. It got passed down from me, and we all had some fun. You know, I used to take it out in the snow as a kid. Shit. You know, take it to a field, man, and have some fun. I did a lot of that stuff. I had a lot of fun, man, as a kid. Nice. 500 Interceptor. Nice bike. Some good times, man. So I hope everybody's enjoying their Sunday. I know if you were up early in the morning with us, man, this morning. God damn. Fucking birds were chirping and everything else, man. Swear to God, there's this little bird. He lives in the backyard. That little motherfucker said KevyKev781. I had to go out there and check. God damn. The sun was coming up for sure, Colin. Yeah, Madeline, me and JFK, we go way back, man. Way back. Good friends. Right, Brenda? You laughing about that bird situation? Because goddamn, this little dude was KevyKev781. Shut the fuck up. It's fucking 4 a.m. I'll be dancing and shit. Birds be dancing and shit. Yeah, Al Bundy. What up, Jeep girl? You got a Jeep? You own a Jeep girl? Yeah. I'm telling you. It's real life shit. That's real life shit right there. That fucking dude, man, when he was, I could picture it now, man. I could picture it now, man. The fucking kids in the sandbox. Fucking Glera. See him in the sandbox as a little kid, man. He's the one throwing the fucking sand up in the air and shit with his mouth open. You know? Fucking. Stay away from kids like that. Fucking eating the sand, yep. Jeep girl. Oh, you had to get rid of it for an SUV? I still got a Jeep. That's why I asked. I got a Jeep. I got a 1968 CJ5. Used to have a lot of fun with that Jeep. Shit's been sitting in my garage, in the back of my garage, on the left-hand side. I know right where it is. It's just been sitting there. It's been sitting there for 11 years, I think. I mean, I go in there, make sure the tires are full, and wipe the cobwebs off it. But I haven't driven that thing in a long time. I'll probably never ever get rid of that thing, ever. I've had a handful of Jeeps. I've had a lot of fun with the Jeeps. I've had a lot of CJ5s. And this last one that I got, man, I'll tell you, I bought it like down south. I had it trailered home. I got it running. It was somebody else's project at one point. They had a fun time with it, though. I'll tell you, when I got the Jeep, I opened up the glove box, and there was a logbook in the Jeep, and everywhere the Jeep went was written down in this book. Like, he went to jamborees, he did rock climbing, he did all these like Jeep meets. I mean, it's got a history of this. Jeep's been all over the world. And I thought that was the coolest thing, man. I got somebody else's logbook every time something happened to the Jeep. Oh, we were in, let's say, out of state somewhere at a Jeep meet, and, we were in the woods 3 miles in, and the alternator broke, or a brake line broke. And the guy wrote everything down. It was the fucking coolest thing. I got to find that little book. I know I got it. It's probably in my garage and shit in my office, but I know I got that log book. I used to look at it all the time and laugh at my friends and shit. But yeah, that Jeep, man, it's cool as shit, sitting in the back of the shop. I should pull that thing out. My son's been dying because he keeps saying he sees Jeeps drive by and shit, and he's like, Daddy, that Jeep didn't have a door on it. They're gonna fall out. And I'm like, Jeeps are made so they have soft doors, and they, you got seat belts, and there's a roll bar, and you got to always stay buckled up when you're in the Jeep because they're bouncy. And then when he goes in the garage, man, he's sitting in the Jeep, and he's like, "Oh, you don't have no doors on your Jeep, Daddy. We got to take this out." I'm like, "Yeah." It's pretty cool, though. Got side pipes, big tires, 35-inch tires on it. There's a couple pictures of it in my photos on YouTube. There's got to be a picture of it up there somewhere. Maybe I'll have to upload some photos and do a little Jeep diary. You know. Yeah. Yeah, it's a 1968 CJ5, and it came with this special motor. It was called the Vauntless V6. Vauntless V6. It was made by Buick, which is so crazy because I have a Buick, and I owned the Jeep way before the Buick, but it came factory with a Buick V6 in it. It was super powerful, and a lot of fun. Give me 1 second here. I'm losing power. That's all right, Jeep girl. Mom cars are cool too. I drive one once in a while. I've had different vehicles in my life that I've had and sold and got rid of them. And I mean, I've had so many trucks in my life. Oh my God, it's crazy, crazy. And I just come home with the shit, you know, like, hey, I found this truck. You ever seen that thing? They gave it to me. They just gave it to me. I swear they just gave it to me. They gave me the truck. I got it for free. They gave it to me. Who gave it to you? They gave it to me. Them. Who's them? I don't know the guy. He had a beard. He liked my beard. He gave me the truck. Yeah, I would think that the Jeep's got to be worth something, but I think it's more. I mean, I think I'm not the only one in my family that's like, nah, man, you can't get rid of the Jeep. You know, it's just it's KevyKev all the way. You know, fucking big old shifter and shit, like a no doors, fucking big tires, side pipes, fucking loud as a motherfucker. My neighbors used to hate me and shit. I'd start that shit up on a Sunday morning, like, bah, 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 bah. But man, I used to take that shit in the woods, man. Oh, fuck. Used to have a ton of fun, man. Covered in mud, drive home like that. And that was the thing. I never took. I never trailered my shit nowhere. It wasn't like, and I've been to like different, like like jamborees and shit, watch people race through the mud and shit. But I drive my Jeep there, drive that shit home, couple hour drive home. I remember one time, I don't know where it was. Me and my wife took a. I think the last time we drove that Jeep. Yeah, last time we drove that Jeep, man. I'm trying to think, man. It was a while back, man. But what we did was we drove all the way. There was a somebody. I'm trying to think of the name, man. I'm gonna get pissed off. I gotta look it up. I don't want to say the wrong name, man, because I love animals. So give me a second. Give me 1 second. I'm scrolling. I know it's here somewhere. God damn. Sorry, people. I'm coming up to it. So, all right, here it is. God damn, I need my Cheetah 125s. Need my Cheetah 125s. Puppy dough. We went to a bench, me and my wife, we took that Jeep for a ride on May 28th, 2015. That was the last time I drove that Jeep. May 28th. But we went out to the bench that they dedicated for puppy dough. It says this bench is dedicated for the in loving memory of Kia, known to the world as Puppy Doe, and to the life of victims of animal abuse everywhere. Currently, in any form, must not be tolerated. See something, say something. This bench was donated in September 2014. Puppy Doe. I don't know if any of you guys were around. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. But there was a dog that was abused, and people started standing up for that pup. Yeah. There you go, girl. Priscilla got a bike as well. You guys know that? Well, if you didn't know, now you know. Go, female riders. I'm right there with you. I think that's great. And that happens a lot. Sometimes you might add a dad, a brother, a boyfriend, a husband, get on the back of the bike. You're like, wow, this is great. Next thing you know, you want your own. Or you might have been one of those kids like my daughter. She was driving since she was 6. 2 wheels. Let me tell you something. I'll feel super confident with my kid getting on a bike. If she said to me, "Hey, Dad, I've been thinking about getting a motorcycle." My daughter can drive. She can drive. And that's the thing. And that's great. Well, listen, I'm gonna end up leaving you guys at the 2-hour mark because I wanted to come out here. I wanted to say what's up. I wanted to, chit chat about a few things and some things that I've been thinking about, things that I'm gonna talk about, and in the upcoming, upcoming shows that I might be involved in. And I've been doing a little homework, and I'm glad that you guys are here. I get to share a few things with everybody. Please smash that like button. Become a member if you're not a member. I promise you all that I will be going live much, much more. I've actually got a couple of good windows that I got opened up for me to be able to do this. And I got a couple of good projects. Like I said, I want to install this stuff in my car. I just got this. It's like I got stuff. I want to bolt it up into my car, and I want you guys to be a part of it. And yeah, this is where it all goes down in the shop. So if you're not a part of the Kevy crew, become a member. Get a membership. Tell a friend. Tell a neighbor. Tell somebody next door. Go right now to your front door. Open up the front door. Tell everybody. Subscribe to KevyKev781. And I promise you, you guys will get some live content coming soon. I appreciate everybody being out here with me today. Thank you for whoever became a new member. So let's keep it up. Let's keep it up, people. Much love to the chat. Everybody that shows up, rocks out with KevyKev. What we got? I don't have too much good music, but you know what? I do have this.